Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. The biggest mistake people make when trying to get someone's attention is being too normal. Every day people start conversations with, "Hi, how are you?" You know what that sounds like? It sounds like the background noise of life. It's dull, it's predictable, and it tells the other person nothing about who you are. Ladies and gentlemen, let me break it down for you. The very first impression you make sets the tone for everything that follows. You can't take it back. You can't redo it. And you sure can't rewind the moment once it's gone. When you meet someone for the first time, especially someone you're attracted to, the way you approach them, the words you choose, and the energy you bring, that's what creates the emotional connection. People don't fall in love with your words. They fall in love with how you make them feel in the first 5 seconds. Those seconds are powerful. They tell him everything he needs to know about who you are without you saying a whole lot. Now, here's the thing. Too many folks underestimate the power of that first impression. They walk up all casual, say, "Hi, how are you?" like they're reading from a script, and then wonder why the other person doesn't seem excited. You can't get his attention with something he's heard 1,000 times. Every woman he's ever met has said, "How are you?" You want to know what makes a man stop and think about you later. When you break that pattern, when you come in with something that makes him curious, when you give him a taste of your personality right out the gate. See, first impressions aren't about perfection. They're about energy. You could stumble on your words. You could laugh mid-sentence. But if you carry a spark, a certain kind of confidence, you're unforgettable. A man remembers that feeling, that energy, that little mystery you leave behind when you walk away. You could say something as simple as, "You look like you've had a day. What's the story behind that face?" And suddenly, it's not small talk anymore. It's connection. It's an invitation for him to open up, to feel something in that moment. And I'll tell you something, people may forget what you said, but they never forget how you made them feel. That's the law of attraction right there. When you walk up to someone, don't aim to sound polite. Aim to sound alive. Bring warmth in your tone, light in your smile, curiosity in your eyes. Show him that you're present, that you're not just saying words, you're creating a moment. Because a first impression that carries feeling builds emotional connection faster than any pretty phrase ever could. That first hello should feel like a vibe, not a checklist. It should carry confidence, mystery, and a little playfulness. That's what makes a man want to see you again, talk to you again, hear your voice again. First impressions don't just introduce you, they introduce how he's going to feel when he's around you. And if you make that moment memorable, you've already done half the work of winning his attention, because he's not thinking about your words anymore. He's thinking about you. Ladies and gentlemen, energy is everything. You can walk into a room without saying a word and still turn heads if your energy is right. It's not about being the loudest, the prettiest, or the most dressed up. It's about the vibe you carry. People can feel it when your energy is confident, warm, and alive. When you approach someone, especially a man, he doesn't just see you, he feels you. The tone of your voice, the way you smile, the spark in your eyes, that's the kind of energy that draws people in. Curiosity works hand in hand with that energy. When you show genuine interest, when you make someone feel like you actually see them, that's magnetic. Everyone wants to feel noticed. Everyone wants to feel important, and your curiosity does exactly that. Most people don't realize how powerful their presence is. They walk in drained, nervous, unsure, and wonder why nobody's responding. You attract what you project. If your energy says, I'm comfortable, I'm confident, I'm open, people feel safe around you, they want to engage. But if your energy says, I'm hesitant or unsure, you'll push that connection away before it even starts. That's why Steve Harvey always says, your energy walks in 10 seconds before you do, because before you speak a single word, your presence has already spoken for you. Now let's talk about curiosity. Curiosity is the secret ingredient to great conversation. When you're curious about someone, you stop talking just to fill silence. You start asking questions that mean something. You lean in, you listen, you respond with emotion. That's what creates connection. You can say, how are you? And sound like a stranger, or you can say, you seem like you've got a lot on your mind. What's the story? And suddenly, you've opened a door. That kind of curiosity shows attention. It says, I'm not just here to talk. I'm here to understand you. And that's what makes someone feel special. Men especially respond to that combination, energy and curiosity, because it tells them you're not chasing them, you're engaging them. You're not desperate for attention. You're creating an atmosphere that invites it naturally. When a woman's energy is positive and her curiosity is sincere, she becomes unforgettable. A man remembers her not because of how she looked, but because of how she made him feel. He remembers that little spark that woke something up in him. The truth is, you can't fake energy and you can't fake curiosity. They both come from being present, being confident, and enjoying the moment. When you approach someone with genuine excitement to learn about them, your energy becomes contagious. They want to stay, they want to talk, they want to know you more. And that's when you know you've done something powerful. You didn't just say he, you created a connection that lingers long after the moment is gone. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that most people never think about. Predictability kills excitement. You can be beautiful, charming, and smart, but if you start every conversation with the same tired, hi, how are you? You've already lost the spark before it even begins. See, people today crave something real, something different, something that feels alive. When you greet someone in the same old way, you're telling them, I'm just like everybody else. There's no emotion, no flavor, no surprise, just another routine moment in a world full of routine moments. And let's be honest, routine doesn't make hearts race. Routine doesn't make anyone curious about you. Routine makes you forgettable. Now, think about it for a second. How many times in a day does someone hear, "Hi, how are you?" Maybe 10, maybe 20. It's like background noise. It doesn't stand out. It doesn't make them stop and think. It doesn't create an impression. And the truth is, if you sound like everyone else, you'll be treated like everyone else. Predictability is the enemy of attraction. People are drawn to what's new, what's unexpected, what feels fresh. When you approach someone, especially someone you're interested in, you've got to give them something that makes them feel something right away. You don't have to be dramatic or over the top. You just have to be genuine and a little creative. Say something that reflects your energy, your humor, your confidence. Instead of, "Hi, how are you?" try, "You look like you've had a long day. Want to tell me what's on your mind?" Or, "I wasn't planning to say anything, but I'd regret it if I didn't." See, that's not just a greeting, that's a moment. It has curiosity, it has personality, it has emotion. It shows effort. And effort, my friends, is rare these days, and rare is what people remember. Men notice when you come with something different. They may not say it out loud, but they feel it. That spark in your words catches their attention before they even realize it. Because deep down, everyone wants to be intrigued. Everyone wants to feel that sudden jolt of interest when someone approaches them with intention and energy. Predictable greetings make people go through the motions. Unique ones make them wake up. So when you walk up to someone, don't think like everybody else. Think like you. Bring your own rhythm, your own playfulness, your own spark. Life's too short for boring introductions. You want to be remembered, not just noticed. You want him to think about that first thing you said, replay it in his head and smile. That doesn't happen from, "How are you?" That happens when you dare to be different, when you decide to sound like no one else, and when your first words say exactly what your energy already promised, that you're one of a kind. Ladies and gentlemen, confidence is the real game changer. You can have the best looks, the nicest outfit, and the sweetest smile, but if you walk in without confidence, you blend into the background. Confidence is that invisible force that makes people stop, stare, and remember you long after you've walked away. It's not arrogance. It's not attitude. It's quiet power. It's the way you carry yourself, the way you talk, and the way you believe in your own worth. See, when you approach someone with confidence, you're not begging for attention. You're commanding it without even trying. And that's the kind of energy that makes a man take notice. Now, let me tell you something. Confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about being comfortable with your imperfections. It's standing tall even when you're nervous, smiling, even when you're unsure, and speaking with clarity even when your voice shakes. When you do that, you show the world that you know who you are, and that's powerful because people are drawn to those who are sure of themselves. A confident person doesn't chase validation. They create it. They don't wait for someone to approve of them. They move like someone who already knows their value. When a woman walks into a room with that kind of energy, every eye turns her way, not because she's trying too hard, but because her confidence introduces her before she says a word. That's what makes her unforgettable. Confidence changes how people hear you, how they see you, and how they respond to you. You could say the same line as someone else, but if you say it with belief in yourself, it hits different. It lands with impact. It carries authority. And trust me, men can feel it instantly. They can sense when a woman believes in her own worth. And that's when they start chasing her energy instead of her looks. See, confidence isn't loud, it's steady. It doesn't shout, it shines. It's in your posture, in your tone, in your eyes that say, I know who I am and I'm proud of it. That kind of self-assurance creates attraction that lasts because looks might catch attention, but confidence holds it. Confidence makes people curious. It makes them want to know what's behind that smile, what gives you that strength, what makes you walk like the world can't shake you. So when you approach someone, don't overthink it. Don't doubt yourself. Walk in like you belong there. Speak like your words matter. Smile like you know your power. Because the truth is, confidence doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from knowing that you don't need to be. And when you radiate that kind of certainty, you become unforgettable. You become the moment they replay in their head. And long after you've left the room, your confidence is still standing there, reminding them of the one person who had the courage to just be themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, conversation is where connection is born. It's not about grammar. It's not about perfect lines. And it's definitely not about saying the right thing. It's about feeling. The best conversations are not formal exchanges of words. They're emotional experiences. You don't remember what someone said because it was proper. You remember it because it made you feel something, whether it made you laugh, made you curious, or touched your heart. That's what sticks. When you talk to someone you're interested in, your goal shouldn't be to sound polite or proper. Your goal should be to make them feel seen, understood, and alive in that moment. See, too many people get caught up in saying things the right way. They want to sound cool, calm, and collected. But that's not connection. That's performance. Real connection comes from authenticity. It comes from emotion. When you speak with warmth, when you let your tone carry sincerity, when you express what you really feel, people notice. A man can feel when a woman is genuinely curious, when she's truly engaged. And trust me, that emotion will draw him in faster than any rehearsed line ever could. Emotion makes the difference between small talk and real talk. When you say, "Hi, how are you?" you're not creating emotion. You're following a script. It's automatic, and automatic doesn't spark attraction. But when you say something that carries feeling, something that makes him stop and think, that's when a real conversation begins. You could say, "You seem like you've got a story to tell," or "You give off this calm energy. How do you do that?" And suddenly The conversation has life. Emotion brings out emotion. When you give warmth, curiosity, or playfulness, the other person mirrors it back. That's how bonds are formed, through shared feeling, not empty words. The most powerful speakers, the most magnetic personalities, they all know this secret. They speak with heart. They don't aim to impress, they aim to connect. When you bring emotion into your conversation, you become memorable because you've made the other person feel something about you and about themselves. It's not about what's said, it's about what's felt. That's what makes you stand out. So stop worrying about sounding perfect. Perfection is boring. Real emotion is rare. If you're happy, let it show. If you're intrigued, lean into it. If you're teasing, let your tone play. Because when you talk from your heart instead of your head, you build trust, you build comfort, you build attraction that lasts. People don't crave more words, they crave real energy, emotion, and presence. The next time you start a conversation, don't try to sound right, try to sound real. That's how you turn ordinary moments into emotional connections. And that's how you move from being someone he talked to someone he can't stop thinking about. Ladies and gentlemen, the truth is simple. Everybody wants to feel seen, not just looked at, but seen. In today's world, people are surrounded by attention, yet starving for understanding. You can scroll through 100 compliments, 1,000 messages, but none of them mean a thing if they don't make you feel something.